Is this thing on? Welcome back to Big Mouth, and fancy seeing you here in June. I'm very welcome, my friends, and especially my enemies. Come in, sit down, no touching. I don't do the touching. Hello, and welcome back to Big Mouth, and you can keep this or any other conversation I ignite going over on my Twitter at Movies TV Mad, and welcome to Tuesday's edition of the dceu Daily. And welcome. And today we are talking about the rumour of the possibility, the perspective of Marvel buying DC. But let's cut the crap here. It's not about Marvel buying DC. It's about Disney swallowing up DC Comics whole. Now, there's an article here I'm going to read. Unfortunately, it is not a reliable source. It's We Got This Covered. The ones that came out with this article originally, Cosmic Book News, they're very sourced with the fandom menace as well, so you can't trust them. But I think it's an interesting thing to talk about. Superhero fans. Over the decades, the two titans of the comic book industry have battled to be known as the best in the business. Nowadays, with their success on screen like the Marvel Cinematic Universe, it's probably fair to say that Marvel is in ruder health, if you say so. But could this mean that they'll finally buy out their eternal rival? That's what this shocking new rumour suggests. Last week, Dan Didio stepped down. You see, this is what happens, you see. Someone steps down, then they start adding 2 and 2 and getting 500. Right. Last week, Dan Didio stepped down as the co-publisher for DC Comics after a decade in the role. It's widely believed that he was fired as part of the major restructuring going on at AT&T. That remains to be confirmed, but the Lords of the Long Box YouTube channel have released a new report which claims that AT&T's restructuring plans may include them putting DC up for sale. According to this rumour, the corporation is considering getting out of the comic publishing trade altogether and inviting Marvel to take over DC. Right, before I read on, there's been a lot of rumours. DC fans and a lot of comic book fans have not been very complimentary about AT&T and their handling of DC Comics thus far. But do you know what the truth is? There's no kind of backup for these accusations. All it is a bunch of people who are not happy in the direction the stories and their characters are going. And guess what? They're blaming AT&T, who only bought Warner Brothers recently, right? So basically, a lot of this doesn't have validity or foundations. You're no doubt reading this and thinking that it's ridiculous. It's a ridiculous idea, and there's no way it's going to happen. And frankly, it sounds a little out there. But yeah, this is, We Got This Covered, so out there is their thing. And frankly, it sounds a little out. However, the YouTubers do know that their sources say this may not be something they're seriously considering, and instead something that AT&T is putting out there to gauge fan reaction. Basically, it's bullshit. AT&T are doing nothing of the sort, and this YouTube channel are just trying to cover themselves. But hey, it gives us something to talk about, so it's fun. Other options apparently being considered to inject some fresh blood into DC Comics are to employ more screenwriters and filmmakers to pen comics. For instance, J.J. Abrams is currently helming the Spider-Man comic for Marvel, and now that he's exclusively signed up to Warner Media, they could get him to do similar projects for DC. He's doing the next Superman movie. That's not a rumour, that's a fact. But anyway, as for Didio, this rumour points to the publisher being fired over AT&T's disagreement with his planned 5G relaunch, which would reboot the DC pantheon with contemporary characters. The company is apparently worried of how this rebranding would affect their upcoming screen projects, focusing on classic heroes like the Batman. What's more, it said Didio clashed with top DC talent like Scott Snyder, who were not in support of the relaunch. Obviously, we should take this potential merger with a handful of salt for now. Though, to be fair, things have been going crazy in the corporate world of late. With Disney taking over Fox, could one big harmonized Marvel DC universe be next? Time will tell. Source, Lord of the Long Box. So basically, check their YouTube channel out. I'm sure it's great for bullshit and lies and things like that. Here on Big Mouth, we operate on rumours, but we always tell you that they're rumours, don't I? So there's no kind of this is definitely happening thing. So what do I think potentially of this happening? It's not going to happen, by the way. It's not going to happen. These are people basically they've seen Didio leave and they've decided to create a bunch full of rumours. So the fake outrage towards AT&T from comic book fans is fake. They're trying to say that they're not focusing on DC Comics. It's absolute nonsense. They're a big company. They're not focusing on anything. They've got people. Basically, they're just letting the company be run like it always has been. AT&T didn't sack Dan Didio. It would have been within the actual DC company where they said, you know what, Dan, we don't want another New 52, because that went down like a lead balloon with half the fandom, right? So you can understand why he was moved out by the people or the shareholders of DC Comics, right? It was the right decision because we don't want another, divisive New 52. I think the New 52 elements of it are quite good. So I don't think this is anything. So all the bullshit and outrage towards AT&T since they've taken over for me is false. It's fiction. It's the same falseness and fiction that say that Birds of Prey is a flop. It's coming from the same people all the time. And this is news. So basically, they've created something for us to talk about, something that's never going to happen. But I think we should talk about it anyway. I think that most diehard DC fans would reject Marvel or Disney buying DC. But here's me, because I do read DC Comics. I do love DC Comics, but I'm not diehard, right? Mainly, I'm a Superman fan, but I love Batman and I love all the DC characters as well, right? But I mean, the first DC thing, the first DC media thing I was ever kind of experiencing was Superman the movie. So I don't originally come from comic book lore originally. I think this would be brilliant because mainly, obviously, I come from the side of the live action, movie and TV. I think this would be great. I mean, for example, Warner Brothers have rested Superman for the past 2.5 years. I want to ask you a question, and I've mentioned this before. If Superman was owned by Disney, do you think he would be front and center in the film universe, his own films, basically cameoing on the TV shows and the rest of the movies? Do you think you would have a shared cinematic universe that worked? Yes, you would. And for the release to Snyder Cut fans like me, I actually think DC being owned by Disney, we would have more of a chance of seeing the Snyder Cut. Why is that? When they're not even going to release the director's cut of J.J. Abrams' Rise of Skywalker? Because they are not involved. They weren't involved in the production of the Snyder Cut. They have nothing to lose. They have no culpability of what happened. Warner Brothers would no longer have say so on it. And Disney, I think, would want to ingratiate all the fans. And I think it would be a good way of doing it. So, first of all, I think Marvel buying DC would be really, really good. I think it would just work for the films. And I know a lot of the people who watch this channel are going to say, oh, we don't want everything Marvelized. At the end of the day, right, you've had your Snyderverse. I've had my Snyderverse. I can see those films anytime, right? But I'm sick to death of kind of having to kind of have this anxiety about what it all means for DC every time a film's released, right? Now, I've supported Walter Hamada. I think he's doing a great job. But from the outside looking in, it does look like they're just kind of steadying the ship without really going for it, if you know what I mean. And I hope that the future is a lot better than that. We do have Wonder Woman 1984. Patty Jenkins is planning a trilogy as well as making a Themyscira standalone movie as well. So there are plans out there. So that is exciting. So let's be clear here. I don't believe that Marvel are going to buy DC. But I do believe potentially it would be a good move. Because one thing you can say about Disney, they throw money and they throw talent at the properties they purchase. Now, them buying Fox wasn't a shock, and it wasn't not for me. 20th Century Fox was dying anyway. So they basically just bought something because it had properties that they wanted to add to their kind of manifesto of what they already had of Marvel characters, right? So it wasn't really a biggie. But I'm going to say right now that I believe Disney or Marvel buying DC wouldn't be a bad thing. I think maybe for the comics it might not be what everyone wants, but I think in terms of the films, especially the films, and especially having a DC cinematic universe, And of course they would cross over the MCU with the DCEU. Of course they would. There's a lot of things they would do. But it's never going to happen. The government would never allow Disney to buy DC. It would just be another staple. It would just mean more of a dominance. So it's never going to happen unless Disney can obviously have got that power to make government interference go away. I don't know about that. But right now, these sources are absolutely no good. They're not reliable. If you're talking about the YouTube channel or you're talking about these sites it's on, there's just no validity to these reports. So I don't think that AT&T want to lose DC Comics because it's not really about the comics. It's about the movies. It's about the TV shows. There's so much potential and so much money to be made. And there's more money to be made in keeping DC Comics than selling it. So it's not going to happen. But for me as a fan, and especially as a Superman fan, I think they would throw in my face Superman everywhere. And that's something I've been begging Warner Brothers to do for a very long time. But I want to know what you think. Would you be happy with Marvel buying DC? I think most of you are going to say no. Pop your comments down below. Like, share and subscribe. Share the video, share the channel, and I'll be back tomorrow with even more DCEU Daily. See you then.